All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going on an archaeological dig, but not into the dirt. We're digging into our own minds. We're about to uncover these ancient, kind of hidden structures that shape how we think about, well, pretty much everything.
I want you to think about this for a second. So much of our world, our stories, our conflicts, they're all split in two. You've got good versus evil, right versus wrong, us versus them. It just feels normal, right? Like that's just the way things are. But what if it's not? What if seeing the world this way is actually a very specific system, one that was built on purpose?
And that's the huge idea we're jumping into today. There was this one thinker, a French philosopher named Jacques Derrida, who looked at thousands of years of thought and saw this single, really powerful pattern running through all of it, like a hidden operating system for Western thought. But here's the cool part. He didn't just point it out. He gave us a toolkit to actually take it apart.
Okay, so to get a handle on this hidden code, we have to appreciate just how deep its roots go. This isn't some new idea, it's a legacy, and it stretches all the way back to the very beginnings of philosophy.
You see, this whole way of thinking in opposites, it runs deep. For centuries, the biggest philosophical fights were always drawn along these lines. You had pure reason on one side and messy, lived experience on the other. Or you had idealism, the world of perfect ideas, versus materialism, the world of stuff. It's a structure that's basically built on conflict.
And for the West, you can pretty much trace it all back to one place. The philosopher Alfred North Whitehead had this famous line that almost all of Western philosophy is just a series of footnotes to Plato. And what he meant by that is, for over 2,000 years, we've been obsessed with Plato's big project, trying to find some perfect, unchanging truth that exists somewhere beyond our messy, everyday world.
So this obsession, this search for a single central truth that organizes everything else, it has a name. This is the hidden code that Derrida found, and he called it logocentrism.
Basically, logocentrism is the belief that all meaning and truth flow from one stable central point. You can think of it like the sun in the solar system, right? It's the anchor. It's the origin point. It's the one thing that holds everything else in orbit and gives it all meaning.
And this logos, this center, it's worn a lot of different hats throughout history. Sometimes it's religious, like the word in the Gospel of John. Sometimes it's more philosophical, like Plato's idea of a perfect eternal essence, or the Enlightenment's faith in absolute reason. It can be any concept that a culture decides is the ultimate, unquestionable foundation of everything.
So, what happens when you build your whole system of thought around a powerful center? Well, just by defining a center, you automatically create everything that's not the center. You create the margins, the periphery.
And this is not a neutral thing. The second you establish a center, you've created a power dynamic. The center becomes the gold standard, the ideal, and everything else, everything out on the edges, isn't just seen as different. It's seen as secondary, as less than, and it gets defined only by how it relates back to that center.
And this is where all that abstract philosophy gets very, very real. The source material shows how this structure has been used throughout history. If modern reason is the center, then any other cultural belief gets labeled primitive superstition. If the West is the center, then other cultures become the exotic, mysterious Orient. And if man is the center, you start to see the pattern.
Now this right here is the critical part to get. The group on the outside, on the periphery, is defined by what it supposedly lacks. So historically, a woman wasn't just viewed as different from a man. She was defined, philosophically and even biologically, as an incomplete version of a man, as someone literally lacking the qualities that the complete human at the center had. And that logic becomes the justification for all kinds of hierarchies.
Okay, so we've seen the problem. It's this hidden code that creates these power structures. So what do you do about it? Well, this brings us to Derrida's big move, deconstruction. And it's important to know, it's not a theory, it's an action. It's something you do.
The best way to think about it is like construction versus demolition. Logocentrism is the act of constructing this big, beautiful, solid building on what it claims is a foundation of absolute truth.
Deconstruction is the demolition crew that comes in. But it doesn't just swing a wrecking ball. No, it carefully inspects that solid foundation, finds the hairline cracks, and shows how the whole grand structure is actually standing on really shaky ground.
And here's the actual toolkit. It's really a way of reading and thinking. First, you take a binary pair that seems totally obvious, and you make it strange just by questioning it. Then, here's the famous move. You tilt and reverse it. You just flip the hierarchy on its head for a second. And finally, you hunt for the gray areas, the things that cross the in-between and prove that the sharp line dividing the two was never really there to begin with.
Okay, let's use that stark historical example we were just talking about. This is the logocentric, hierarchical statement. It feels solid, it sounds authoritative, and for centuries, this was presented as a basic truth about the world.
Now, let's just apply step 2. Tilt and reverse. We flip it. Now, the point here is not to argue that this new sentence is true. Of course not. The point is to show that the logic of the first sentence is completely arbitrary. It falls apart the second you flip it. It reveals the original truth was never a statement about reality, it was an expression of power. The whole structure just crumbles.
To prove his point, Derrida did something kind of brilliant. He went all the way back to the beginning, back to Plato himself, and he found this fascinating little crack in the foundation of all of Western thought, and it was hidden inside a single ancient Greek word.
The word is pharmakon, and here's why it's such a huge problem for any philosophy that's built on clear, neat opposites. It means both poison and remedy. So, which one is it? Is it good or is it bad? Is it helpful or is it harmful? A system that demands a clean binary answer just can't. The word itself breaks the system.
And for Derrida, this one slippery, ambiguous word was like a fatal flaw in Plato's entire project. I mean, think about it. Where exactly is the line between a poison and a remedy? We know that too much of any medicine can become toxic, and we know a tiny, controlled dose of a toxin can be a cure. That supposedly clear, solid line between them, it just dissolves the moment you really look at it.
And this isn't just some dusty old word game. As the source material points out, we see this exact same dynamic playing out today. Is cannabis a dangerous poison, a drug? Or is it a life-saving remedy, a medicine? For some, it's one. For a patient with a chronic illness, it's the other. The substance is the same. It shows that those absolute categories, poison, remedy, are unstable. They depend entirely on context and on who gets to define them.
So, after all of this demolition, what are we left with? Just a big pile of rubble? No. And this is really important. The goal of deconstruction was never just to destroy things for the sake of it. It's actually an invitation.
At the end of the day, deconstruction isn't about proving that nothing is true. It's about clearing away the old, rigid, often oppressive rules that told us how to think and what was possible. The real goal is to open up this huge, new, open field of thought, a space where we can think new thoughts and create new meanings, totally free from the trap of those old binaries.
And that leaves us with one final thought to take away. Deconstruction isn't just a tool for academic philosophers, it's a tool for all of us. It's an invitation to look at our own world, at the ideas that we take for granted as solid truth, and just ask, who does this truth serve, and what happens if I just try to tilt it upside down? Thanks for joining us.